Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and jump into example 1. It says, in Ty's math class, 20% of students earned an A on the test. If there were 30 students in the class, how many got an A? Okay, so we're going to look at a couple different ways to do this. And the first way we're going to use is the good old tape diagram. Okay. And to do this, I'm going to sort of set up two tape diagrams kind of right next to each other. Because, remember, when we're doing these percent problems, we're sort of dealing with two quantities, right? The percent, which is out of 100, and then the part and whole, which are, is some part out of whatever the whole number is, okay? So let's go ahead and figure out those parts for this problem, all right? I think you guys can see kind of right there that the percent is, well, 20%. It just kind of gives you right off the bat. If there were 30 students in the class, how many got an A? So really this is kind of asking what is 20% of 30, okay? So the 30 students in the class is that whole, okay? So I'll just kind of write that over here. Part, whole, percent. Okay, the part is what we are looking for. The whole is the 30 students. And the percent is the 20%. So we're looking for 20% of 30, and that will be the part. Okay. So for the left-hand side, we can go ahead and consider this, we'll just say 0. Let's see. So the top one is going to be just the 30 students. So it goes from 0 to 30, okay? Well, since 30 students is our whole, that means that 30 is, so 30, if we had 30 out of 30, we would have 100%. Okay? So 30 of the students is exactly 100%. Okay, and if you think about it, it sort of makes sense because it's a proportion. We're sort of like making that 30 somehow 100 because it is 100% of the 30 students. Okay? Okay, so what we're looking for is some spot on both of the tape diagrams. So it's going to be the same spot on both tape diagrams, but it's just going to be labeled differently, okay? So here, the spot we're looking for is 20, okay? Because 20 out of 100 is 20%. So I'm going to write the percent sign sort of down here, and here this is going to be students, okay? So of the 30 students, that's 100%. Wherever, so at this magic point here, that's 20 out of 100 or 20%, we need to figure out what number out of 30 that corresponds to. Okay? There are a couple different ways to do it. You could figure out how many 20s are in 100 and divide it up that way. You could, but what way we're going to do it is we're going to sort of break it down by percent. Okay? So what we're going to do is, so we have 100% in this tape diagram here. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into 100 different boxes, okay? So each box is then going to be 1%, okay? So essentially what we're trying to find out is how many students make up 1%, okay? And then if we know how many students make up 1%, all we have to do is multiply by 20 to figure out how many students make up 20%, okay? So essentially what we're trying to figure out is, so we have the two tape diagrams. So the top one was out of 30, and the bottom one was out of 100. and we're trying to figure out how many students out of 30 equals 1 out of 100, which is 1%. Okay? So now we have a little proportion here that we can solve. Okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and replace the question mark with a variable. We'll just call it x. Nothing wrong with using a question mark, but you guys might as well get used to seeing the variables. Okay? So we will really quick, let's see. I want to get the x by itself, okay? So a lot of you guys have learned to cross multiply in this situation, which is fine, but we're just going to save a step, and we're only going to multiply the 30 over because, as you guys can see, once we do that, we end up with the x by itself, which is perfect. Okay, so 1 over 100 times 30 is just 30 over 100. Okay, we can cross out 2 of the zeros and get 3/10, okay, which is also 0.3. Okay, so we figured out that this little sliver, 1 out of 100, corresponds to 0.3 students out of 30. Okay, so that is 0.3. Okay, so now that we know that 1% equals 0.3 students, to figure out what 20% is, well, all you have to do to get to 20 here from 1% is multiply by 20. So we can multiply by 20 on both sides. All right, that's 20%. All right, and now we need to do 0.3 times 20. We got 1 decimal place, so 1. So 6.0. 6.0 students. So we can say that of the 30 students in the class, 6 of them earned an A on the test. At least I think it was an A. Yeah, it was an A. All right, so that's one way. And I sort of promised you 2 ways. So this was sort of the visual method. So we looked at, kind of graphically looked at it. We saw the tape diagrams, the visual aspect. The other way is algebraic in nature. And we ultimately use some algebra in that method too. But this way is going to be a little bit more straightforward. Okay. And I'm actually going to do this 2 separate ways too. So in the first one, has to do with that kind of phrase I said in the beginning. So what this question is really asking is, what is 20% of 30? Okay, and as some of you may have picked up, right away, 20% of 30 means we're going to take 30 times 20%, but we can't just multiply by a percent. We have to convert it to either a decimal or a fraction. So if we convert it to a decimal, we're dividing by 100, so we need to move the decimal 2 places to the left, and we get 0.2. Okay? And so this becomes 30 times 0.2, 0, 6, 1 decimal point, 6. Okay? The other way, a little bonus way, I guess, would be to jump right into the proportion that we used in the second half of that first visual way. But instead of going through the intermediate step of figuring out what 1% is, we're just going to jump right into it, okay? So we're trying to figure out what 20% is. So we've got 20 out of 100. Okay. We're trying to figure out what the part is out of the whole 30. We have x divided by 30, so we need to multiply by 30. Okay. 30 cancels with 30. We get 30 times 20, so that's going to give us 600 over 100. We can cancel out those zeros and those zeros. We get 6 over 1, so we just get that x equals 6. Alright, so now I want you guys to pause the video and give exercise 1 a try.